tell my story, I just need to start at the very beginning. Why is teaching so important to me? Why is it my passion? And when did I decide I want to become a teacher? Truth is, I've always wanted to be a teacher. Remember that little book that you had that you write down, like, when I grow up, I want to be? I started writing down, I want to be a teacher since I was 6 years old. It wasn't until I was a senior in high school that I had the opportunity to be a student worker at a local bank. That was a first, and it was huge for me. My parents were so proud that I had that opportunity. However, once I started working at the bank, I started seeing money and numbers and accounting. So after high school, I went to college to become an accountant. Oh, I found that very boring. I never actually worked in an accounting field or anything, but after graduating from junior college, I decided I still wanted to teach. So I opened up a daycare and operated a daycare for 15 years. It was very successful. But once my kids were all in school, I decided, you know what? I want to work in public school. So I went back to college, finished my degree, and 2 years I was a public school teacher. I'm still working in the same school district and basically teaching the same grades, 7th and 8th grade. I just found my niche, and I absolutely positively love my middle school students. Sometimes people ask me, like, what's your biggest regret about teaching middle schoolers? It's not a regret, but sometimes I feel like it's too late for me to help some middle school students. And that's really why I want to teach, because I feel like at that middle school level, it's a pivotal level in their life. They haven't went off to high school and just totally changed, and they're old enough to understand the basics that I'm trying to teach them. One of the things that students always tell me is, Miss James, I learned so much about English and grammar in your classroom, but I also learned so much about life. And I try to incorporate that into my daily grammar lessons. Here's the thing. As an educator, you should want to be impactful, you should want to be powerful, and you should want to be inspiring. Impactful and inspiring are at the top of my list. And here's something I always tell my students on the very first day of school. You know what? You're in my class, and I'm going to treat you like you are my child. You want to know why? My kids are grown. They live away from home. I don't see them that often, and I love them. I'm going to see you every single day for the next 9 months. And if I don't develop some sort of liking for you, that says a lot about me, that I'm not human. And I am very much a loving and caring person. So if you don't want a teacher that's going to care about you, try to help you, inspire you, be impactful in your life, now's the time. Walk downstairs and let the counselor know I do not want to be in Miss James' room, because she is going to be doing too much that I am not interested in. No one's ever gotten up and left out of my classroom. A lot of students have gotten mad at me because they don't like to be pushed, or they don't like a teacher that really sees the best in them. I'll never forget, I tell this story all the time, and it's one of my best teacher stories ever. I had a student in my class, and every single day I pushed him. He said I got on his nerves. But he came to my class as an A student, but I saw so much more potential. I was like, you're an A student, but could be an A plus student. You have so much potential. I taught him 2 classes. I taught him for creative writing and English. And every day he's like, oh, Miss James, I don't want to do it. Get over there and do it. You know what the thing is? I pushed him, and he still kept an A, but he improved so much. And I remember when school started the next year, and we had open house. I opened the door, and here's this student. I was like, why are you here? This isn't your school. He's like, Miss James, can I come in? Can we talk? I said, I have open house. He said, you don't have anyone else out there waiting? Just give me a couple minutes, Miss James. And I invited him in, and he came in, and you know what he said to me? Miss James, I wasted all last year arguing with you, and I realized that you're one of the best teachers I had. It's like, what? When did you realize that? He said, well, I went to stay with my dad for the summer. And every time my dad would tell me something, I was like, oh yeah, let me tell you about Miss James, what she said about this. Or Miss James said this, or Miss James said that. And he said, my dad said, Miss James, I thought you didn't like her. He said, well, he said, it looks like to me That's all that you did last year was listen to Miss James. He said, she didn't think I listened. He said, why did you not like her? Tell the truth. He's like, man, she was always on me. She was pushing me. He said, oh, so you don't like someone seeing your potential. He's like, wait a minute. I guess she did see potential in me. And when he told me that story, he said, Miss James, I have to apologize. I said, what? He said, yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry that I didn't listen to you and I didn't appreciate you. He said, but I came back to tell you to don't stop doing you, Miss James. He's like, if you have another student that's like me, keep doing that. And maybe that student will be like me later on and appreciate you after the fact. He said, but I sure hate I was mad at you last year. We could have had a good year. I said, oh, I had a great year with you. And he said, really? I said, yeah. I said, I knew you had potential. He said, well, I'm going to make you proud when I go to high school. And I said, I am looking forward to that. He just graduated last year and he's enrolled in college. I am so proud of that moment. So, you know what? That's a glimpse into my why. Why do I love teaching? Why do I like students so much that I put myself out there every single day? That's just who I am. It gives me I can't talk so much about it, but one of the things I want to say is it gives my life purpose. When I wake up every morning, I realize that I'm responsible for more than just myself. I have kids that are grown, grandkids that parents are taking care of them, but I have to go into that classroom every day and be somebody's best friend, be someone's motivator, be another child's why. That's what makes me love education so much. And it's simply because every single day I have the opportunity to impact knowledge, be a game changer, a motivator, an inspiration. And if you think about it, it's not even hard to even say. Teachers make all other professions possible. So when I go in my classroom, I realize that every day I may be helping the next millionaire, find his goals and his dreams. Here's something I always tell people. Not everyone's cut out to be a teacher. I think you have to have a lot of patience. You have to be focused, and you have to remember that setbacks aren't setbacks. They're just setting you up for a comeback. I remember one year I had a student. He was absolutely horrible. I'm not even going to tell a story. He was horrible. I dreaded that student every day, seeing him in 7th period, because he was going to do or say something that was just really going to make me not enjoy my job. And I looked at him one day and I told him, I said, it's over. And he said, what? I said, your little charade of like, you don't like me and you don't like this class. It's over. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, stop doing that. Come into my class willing to learn. If you hear something that you don't like, raise your hand, let's talk about it. I love having open discussions. But there are other students in this class that want to do something with their life, that want to learn, and that want to have a teacher that's focused on the whole class instead of just you. You know what? I wasn't expecting a miracle from that, and I didn't get one either. But I did get a plan of action, and he started coming into my classroom. He just sat there, just paid attention. I saw him looking at this kid and looking at that kid, and he sat at the back and he was noticing like the kids that ask questions, they're learning and they love this classroom. I'm sad to say, once I felt like I had reached him, he got in trouble in another class and he got sent away, and I've never seen that student again. And I've always wondered, did I touch that kid? Did I inspire that kid? Was something said or something done in my classroom that maybe he thinks about? I don't know. I've tried to find the student and cannot locate him anywhere. But that's the whole issue of being an educator. Sometimes you never know if you're making a difference. You may find out 10 years later, and again, you may never find out. I remember this one time at a local grocery store, this boy walked up to me. He's like, hey, Miss James. I said, yes. I said, do I know you? And he said, yeah, I was in your class. He's like, I was in the class the first year you taught. I was like, oh. I said, that whole year was a blur to me. But how are you doing? He's like, you remember, it was 3 boys. He said, you called us the trio. And I said, really? And he said, yes. I said, oh, yes, I remember. I said, well, where are your other 2 friends? He said, oh, we're all in college. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, I've been meaning to find you. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, you told us, and I'm ashamed to say I said this to a student, but that was my first year, and now I know better, I do better. He said, you told us y'all not gonna make it to college. I said, oops, I said that. He said, yes, I'm so sorry. That was not how I see students now. That's not how I motivate and inspire students now. That was my first year, so I was sort of learning. He said, oh, it's okay. I said, well, why do you say that? He said, because you made us mad when you told us that. And I said, really? I said, what did you do? He said, we graduated from high school and we're all 3 in college. And I said, yes. I said, I hate that I said that. But okay, I'm glad that they motivated you. He said, oh yeah, by the way, you also told us if we graduated from college that you would buy each of us a steak dinner. And I'm like, I said that? He said, yes, ma'am. He said, we're all 3 seniors, and so we'll be stopping by the school later on to get that certificate for those steak dinners. And I didn't know what to say. He said, I was James, and he walked away, and I looked at my son. He said, oh, you probably said it. And I said, I probably did. He said, well, you better get to saving for those steak dinners. I absolutely love that story. I'm ashamed that I said something, in my opinion now, sort of demoralizing to students, because I know now there are other ways to inspire students besides negating their activities. But I'm also so proud of them because they let my negative thoughts turn into positive actions for them. So that leads way into my next topic, is how do you survive as an educator when sometimes you are surrounded by negative thoughts? And you know what the answer is? Just like those students, you let those negative thoughts turn into positive energy. I remember someone told me, I don't think you're gonna make a good middle school English teacher. And I was like speechless. I didn't say anything. You wanna know why? Because that's not how Miss James reacts. I don't tell people off, I show them off. And that is something I always tell my students. Oh, you don't think that I believe in you? Show me off. I'm ready to be shown off. And that's how I operate sometimes when I feel like people around me aren't so excited about things that I say or actions that I do, and in particular, some of the accomplishments I have achieved. So most often, if that didn't impress you or that made you sad, guess what? I don't tell you off, I show you off. And that is the attitude that I think that all educators need to have when they work in an environment that sometimes isn't one that inspires and motivates you. I'll say it nicely like that. Don't tell people off, just show them off. Over the years, I've become an accomplished teacher. I have my master's degree, I have my national board certification. I'm a master teacher, I'm a lead teacher, have lots of teacher of the year for my school district, all kinds of awards, nationally and state. But you wanna know what really makes me the proudest of all of the awards I've gotten? It's not an award that I've received. It is the fact that I am the mom of 3 college graduates. That to me is the most amazing award that I could ever say I achieved. And I remember asking my son one time, I was like, did your dad and I tell you that we wanted you to go to college? He's like, no, Mom, it was an understood subject. It was understood by our actions, because he had parents that both had went to college. It was understood by our actions that he was to go to college. And I remember asking him, because my youngest son is a, let me think, I can't even think of his job description. My youngest son is a program. So, my youngest son is a software engineer. That's what he is. And I remember asking him, how did you decide that you want to be a software engineer? And he said, well, you know what? I was watching a YouTube video and I saw this black guy on there and he was talking about he was a software engineer. And I was like, wow. He said, I looked around in their surroundings. I was like, oh, nice house. Nice threads you have. And he said, I stopped the video and I Googled what's a software engineer. After I Googled, I found out I like to do that. I like to code and stuff like that. He said, and right then and there, I decided that's what I wanted to be, was a software engineer. And he said that was like in his 10th grade. And he said, that's why I always wanted to be in the programs that had to do with programming and coding and that type of thing. And he was actually in a class that he made an app, several apps, and he had to present them on a state level. And he absolutely loved it. So as soon as he graduated from high school, and he already had all of his freshman classes completed when he graduated, he instantly went into his mode of achieving the dream. And he graduated from college in 3 years and is now a software engineer for a Fortune 500 club. That makes me so proud. But I share this story all the time, not to brag on my son, which I am so immensely proud of him. But I share this story because I tell my students all the time, if I can help my own son achieve his dream just by inspiring him and motivating him, and he's going on, he doesn't need me anymore. I'm here now for you to help inspire you, to help motivate you. And I remember one time a student said to me, it was a young African-American male, he said, I didn't know black people could be successful. Yeah, I did not mean to cry. And I said, what do you mean? He said, when I see you, I see success, and you talk about your son. He said, but I didn't know black people could be successful. And that makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. And I remember when I was talking to my son, he said, Mom, he said, when I saw that software engineer on YouTube, that gave me permission to do what he was doing, because I never saw anyone that looked like me that did that. And so that's another reason I love teaching. That's another reason I love being in the classroom, because students can't be what they can't see. Whether I'm motivating an African-American student or someone that's even not a minority, students can't be what they can't see. And we need educators. We need educators out there to keep inspiring, keep motivating our students. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not gonna be in the classroom forever. So I need you. If you want to be an educator, or you're already an educator, I need you to step it up. Be the best that you can be. Because sometimes, just sometimes in our classroom, you don't realize it. You're the best that some of the students see every day. So bring your A game. If the day before wasn't the best, come and give it the best the next day. Because it is so important for us to show up for our students and be there for them. One of the things my students always say, Mr. James, you're always smiling. You know what? Some days I don't feel like smiling. I'm crying now. I'm crying because I'm so passionate about this profession that it's my job, but it's something I absolutely love doing. If I had some money in the bank, I would do it for free, because I love teaching. I love motivating my students, and I love being sometimes the person that they see that has overcame obstacles and is achieving a dream or a goal that I set for myself. If you're a parent, if you're an educator, if you're a grandparent, if you're an aunt or an uncle, be a motivator. Be an inspiration to some child, because that's our future. And our future deserves to be enlightened of their greatest potential. I'm not gonna let you see me with my makeup just totally off, so I'm gonna end here. I didn't know where I was gonna go with this. I hope you enjoy.